Hey guys, for AP Biology or College Biology, we're going to be covering Unit 4, Cell Communication and Cell Cycle. Just as a disclaimer, make sure to review the previous videos of Section 4.1 to 4.3 to ensure that you really do understand the signal transduction pathway before circling back around to Section 4.4, which is all about changes in signal transduction pathway. We have a playlist and podcast that's already set up for those videos. So if you ever feel like when you're reviewing this video, you're not really understanding in full detail what we're talking about, make sure to circle around those videos. That will help clear up some of the misinformation. Please note the disclaimer below and let's get started. So when we talk about the signal transduction pathway, which we covered in previous videos, remember there are three steps. There's reception, transduction, and then the final cellular response. However, let's say we have a receptor here and its shape becomes wonky, that your signaling molecule is not able to attach to that receptor properly. Well, what that means is the final cellular response will be altered. And another way that this could disrupt is even within the cell. Remember, we have relay molecules or secondary messengers that conduct signal transduction internally within the cell, and that could be altered as well, therefore altering the final cellular response. So remember, these cellular processes that are occurring in the cell are dependent on the fact that the signal transduction pathway is running smoothly and there are no disruption. But if there is one, that could alter the final cellular response. Let's talk about mutations. So, one of the things that can happen within the cell or outside the cell is you could have protein synthesis that is altered. And in general, protein synthesis, meaning DNA going to RNA to protein, which we'll talk about in a later unit, basically controls the way the cell acts. So, if you go ahead and alter that protein synthesis, you alter the cell cycle, which we will also cover in a later unit. But for now, you just need to understand that the cell cycle is the lifespan of that cell and how it acts. So one of the things that can happen is you could see here, there's a bunch of cells here. And what happens is our cells naturally like to grow. However, if we have uncontrolled cell division, meaning too many cells that just don't die and regenerate, they just continue to grow indefinitely, you lead to things like cancer. Examples of disruptions and mutations include, remember we talked about insulin signaling. We can have issues that lead to type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes, where you don't have the production of insulin for type 1 diabetes due to DNA mutations, and type 2 diabetes is from the issues resulting from the receptor protein mutation. So out the cell, we have that receptor and it's not recognizing the insulin, therefore unable to produce the correct cellular response. So these are just some examples of how mutations can alter the final cellular response in the signal transduction pathway. Now we're going to talk about different chemicals. Now in our natural environment, we have good chemicals and we have bad chemicals. However, there are things like we could say lead, PCB, or ethanol, which are basically going to either allow the pathways to get stronger or weaker. Examples of this could include, we talked about before, temperature, chemicals, and even pH that can alter the way proteins react. If you remember in macromolecules unit, which would be unit 1 for AP biology, we talked about the idea that proteins, specifically enzymes, which are a type of protein, they can be altered in the way that they react based on temperature, chemicals, and pH. So it's a full circle moment where we're talking about the fact that we have these proteins that are involved in the signal transduction pathway, and they can be altered in the way that they react in the signal transduction pathway with things like temperature, chemicals, and pH. So, we also have inhibitors, which we're going to talk about a little bit more. We have talked or spoken, I should say, we have spoken about this in the unit related to enzymes. If you remember lock and key method, which was now later called the induced fit method, I want you to think about that when you're thinking about these receptors. And we briefly touched upon this in the earlier section, but remember, there is a specific receptor that attaches to a specific signaling molecule. Now, say, for example, we have something that blocks that behavior, like a drug or some sort of inhibitor that exists. Those inhibitors that block that passageway can alter the way the signaling molecule reacts, right? So let's say we have some sort of blockage that prevents a lot of the signaling molecules from attaching. And what ends up happening is then you don't have an efficient relay molecule or cascade that exists, which means that you alter the potential cellular response. So basically, by inhibiting the receptor binding to, we call that the ligand, because of some sort of potential medication, you essentially would alter the signal transduction pathway. And oftentimes medications can do this as a way to save the process. So what I mean, like, say, for example, you have a cellular response that basically says that your cells have to be inflamed for things like seasonal allergies. And you take a medication to stop that binding. So that's a benefit for you as a human being who wants to be able to go outside in nature. By having that medication, you're blocking that passageway, therefore altering the signal transduction pathway. So it's not always bad or good when we have inhibitors. It just depends on the particular cellular response. And I just want to note that if you are given a free response question, to keep that in mind. Okay, so let's take a look at a quiz question. Take a moment, pause this video, and then unpause once you've completed the answer, and we'll review together. Okay, now that you're done reading the question and potentially answering the question, let's try to review this question together. It says, which of the following correctly describes a potential consequence of mutations in the signal transduction pathway? Is it A, mutations always lead to enhanced signaling responses? So I want to point out this term, always. Always is an extreme phrase or statement. And we now understand that mutations are not always going to lead to enhanced signaling responses. It could disrupt cellular responses. So we won't like that answer for us. So I would stay away from that answer. We know that mutations can disrupt the cell cycle, potentially causing uncontrolled cell division. I do like this answer because it says potentially and it's not extreme. So I'm going to keep that there as a potential correct answer and continue to review the rest of the choices. Answer choice C says mutations in receptor proteins improve ligand recognition. Once again, while it doesn't say always, it's saying that mutations can improve ligand recognition, and this could be true, but not always the case. So I don't really like that answer compared to B. And then answer choice D says mutations prevent any form of cellular communication entirely. I don't like the term any because any is an extreme phrase. So I don't like answer choice D either. Also because it says mutations prevent, and remember, mutations can benefit or harm. It just depends on what the particular cell response is. So the best answer is B, mutations can disrupt the cell cycle, potentially causing uncontrolled cell division. I hope this video helps you understand the different variables that can affect the signal transduction pathway, specifically changes in the signal transduction pathway. Make sure to check out our earlier videos before quiz questions and videos to review the lessons. And make sure to hit that subscribe button and like this video for future videos to come on by. Thank you. Hey, Geeking Out on STEM family, guess what? We want you to hit that subscribe button. Why? Because we'll be producing more content just like this for the AP Biology exam and the new digital SAT exam. By subscribing, you'll be getting exclusive, up-to-date tips, tricks, and secrets for both exams. Also, if you're a parent, a teacher, a homeschool instructor, or a student, you might be looking for affordable and exclusive digital products to help improve multiple choice questions, free response questions, or question bank questions related to both the digital SAT or AP biology exam. We have them here. Make sure to check out our link tree in our bio for curated resources that you won't find anywhere else. These unique resources are designed to help you raise your score. By hitting the subscribe button, the more subscribers we get, by the way, the more videos we can make. So make sure to join our family to ensure that you get a perfect score for both exams.